already have that on my list of things to do.
I know students still do it.
We want to keep a minute or less for social media digestion. So if you email, and I'll send my digital media manager to start getting the email.
Yeah, well, I would say.
Please do. Thank you.
Yeah, because then you don't.
I want to make sure that we're putting these out every week throughout the summer, building up to this school year. But again, so many that,
That's what I was going to say. I said it looks like if they're building a retention fund, but I was like, is it just a retention fund? As part of like going to be a facility with
yeah, Kevin will be shooting them and then we'll push them out in social media. And then moving forward, I have some very things that we're getting from the SCR YouTube channel. So it is a little more student driven because I want it to be their baby, but I want to make sure faculty plays a role in that. So that's another project. Those videos are more just to future professors.
I usually come up and just, I don't go on YouTube recently, but I wanted to go and stop and get gas and get gas. And when I did, that's when I saw it. And I was queued up on the way. It's not every day. I mean, it's exciting, you know. It's not every day something's done, but when it does,
I'm sure it's great. And it's my expertise. I'll make sure you look great, you sound great, and
all right.
outlets to move backwards.
I guess I could use that outlet right there.
Yeah.
And then.
Yeah, that would work.
Ready.
Yeah, if you can help facilitate line of the list, I'll get you. Perfect. Maybe hope you have do you need help with specific?
Oh, that'll work.
But now I have a class at 12:30.
Okay, all right. So do you just need me to close it like last time?
Yeah, just dump it somewhere. I suppose that'd be fine.
Maybe
Somewhere
put
downstairs.
it in Gary's office or something.
Gary's office would be fine.
Yeah.
There we go. So it's live. It's already
Okay.
started. Should be fine. And I'm looking for trying to get some food.
You're losing everyone.
What?
You're losing half of your staff.
Yeah.
You're losing Renee. You're losing Amy.
Well, I'll be back.
I understand Raphael. These orders.
Yeah. It's running.
That's your job here. Math teachers are big today. All right. Thank you.
I'm well. How are you today?
Excellent.
It's a little bit of a rough ride. Honor those.
It sounded originally, seriously, in the day two, when you say everything is.
You feel it.
How are you this morning?
I'm great, how are you?
It's nice to be here. Nice.
How are you? I'm good. How are you? Good morning.
Okay, Gary, how you doing, all right?
Alright.
Well, man, you did your course in the summer?
Okay. I think that school's in the south, University of Tuskegee. Georgia has one. So it's kind of 1-1 for state pretty much.
You doing everything?
Tuskegee and Alabama have. Auburn and Alabama. Okay. Hey there, how you doing?
Good. Sit this close to you.
Yeah, I've been doing that. I don't lose.
Well, very, very good. Bugging me about doing it.
Joining us. Oh.
It was a crazy.
I guess the student speaker did a very good job.
They could have better. I didn't care more than sat on them too long, and they ended up being recorders of the presentation. I was kind of waiting on the humor of that. I mean, he did. But, you know, storytelling is a process.
He didn't choke.
No, he didn't say.
That's good. He was pretty confident. That's good. But you're right.
Yeah.
Did he have any?
I don't know, I've never done that. So, somebody would know him, he get it fixed in his head.
That's how he did it.
As we settled on our
Like to hear you.
This is the magnum opus right here. Who started?
Suppose we maybe start with, before we get to department chairs and other ones. Last time around, we had non-discrimination and recollection, correct from those that community indicated would be agreeable to our last proposal, if we were agreeable to that academic freedom proposal. We did have a discussion about the academic freedom proposal, and we're okay with most of it. We have some small changes. do appreciate you sent me your draft yesterday afternoon, and I apologize for mine so later yesterday. So as you see here, Article 14.2 academic freedom, for the most part, we kept. I apologize, what's wrong? The one I handed out to you is not. Yeah, that's all. We need to go another one here and print it out. So this one's not the red line version, this is in case you agree, but let me point out the differences. So in the first one, hand out the track changes version, subsection C, that is putting the table this morning, I changed the last sentence. So for the record, I'll just read it here. Your original sentence says, however, a faculty member speaking or writing as a citizen shall be free from any form of institutional censorship or discipline. Our proposal is to modify that sentence slightly, add the phrase to the extent protected by the First Amendment. So that it would read, however, to the extent protected by the First Amendment, a faculty member speaking or writing as a citizen shall be free from any form of institutional censorship. Because the thought here is, I think we're all on the same page. We don't have any desire to impinge on academic freedom, but your sentence we feel is a little too broad and still bring in virtually any right. Of course, you have a lot of First Amendment protections here, and toyed with trying to be more specific than that. The problem with it is that case law start putting all the various criteria in, it's a losing battle. So we're trying to make sure that we're all on the same page, that you have academic freedom, we're not going to impinge on it. But every little issue that could come up you can't hide behind academic freedom for everything. And obviously devil's in the details on that. But the other suggested change here, which I apologize is not in the track version change, but let me read it, is subsection B2. The way you currently have it says a faculty member is entitled to freedom in the classroom in discussing any subject, academic subject. And then it continues, we propose to change a faculty member to make it plural. So faculty are entitled to freedom in the classroom in discussing. Again, the concern here is that we don't want individual faculty members to feel they don't have to use the approved materials, books, those kinds of things. Faculty generally is deciding these things. Faculty are entitled to it. So that was the tweak that we felt would make it a little bit more accurate. Those are the only two changes that we're suggesting to you. The rest of your academic freedom article was fine for us.
Okay. Yeah, and having had a chance to quickly review kind of what you proposed, we talked about it a little bit as a team. We have, in fact, we kind of have a counter already drafted. Just want to make sure that everyone on our side is on the same page with it. But I think, meets the need kind of expressed there by mentioning the First Amendment, but kind of also fleshes out a little bit what that means, just so people reading it don't say, what does that mean? Because as we've kind of talked about before, part of our interest here is people being able to look at the contract and the layperson being able to kind of understand what is expected of them. So I don't think assuming our team's okay with it, I don't think what we'll be bringing forward substantively changes that too much, but it's just offers a little more explication.
Yeah, I understand that position, so I think we'd be open to looking at how to do that. So we kick around that idea a little bit, trying to do it, strike the balance is the challenge. So that's the non-discrimination academic freedom issues. After you guys discuss amongst yourselves, maybe you're talking to get those done today. Access to faculty. I think I emailed this.
Sure.
So our proposal, you can see, is pretty straightforward, based upon our discussions last time. This Article 4.4, all we did was add subsection C with specific reference to the all-college day to address the concern that the union raised last time. Specifically, we added a section that says, quote, "On all college day, the union may, on request, subject to available space, hold a voluntary meeting to discuss union business," end quote. So this goes back to the turtle tour issue. We don't have a problem with the union having a session. Their faculty voluntarily want to attend. Tried to figure out a way to meld that in with subsection B, and it was just getting complicated, so we just dropped it. So we've set in some provision in there.
Okay, set that up. We'll discuss.
Talked a little bit about discipline and grievance, and we talked further about that caucus. At this point, we don't have a council proposal yet on those topics. Grievance, the hold up there is really looking at more or less we end up with. Right now, I don't think we're all that far off from what you guys proposed last time, but kind of want to see how some of the other articles play out that impact grievance issues. The discipline, we're trying to figure out, got some ideas, but not enough to present a council proposal yet. So we're going to talk further about that during our caucus today, and maybe get back with it.
Okay.
And that leaves department chairs and the leave articles, I think, that you sent to me yesterday, so if you want to put those.
Yeah, let me start with the leads one, and we'll kind of mutually trade our department chair proposals. So there was kind of a lot here, and it's been a little while, so part of this is it involves kind of going through and remember the discussion from before. Okay, so Terry, so you gave us a proposal on this on February 15th, and then kind of there it lay. So we just kind of wanted to renew the conversation here and see if we could get further on some of this, since we didn't have a whole lot else in our court for this session. So just kind of start from the top. You have proposed striking the section that sort of outlined the different types of leave. We have sections for all of them. It's a little bit redundant, so we didn't have an issue with that strike.
Sorry, Kelly.
Yeah, no problem. On the section C, you had proposed striking that. You felt it was too general and wanted to kind of list everything explicitly. I don't think we're necessarily opposed to that in concept, but kind of until we have proposals that start to flesh that out a little bit, our preference would just be to retain that language in our proposals at least. The next section about accommodating faculty with necessities or circumstances, you felt it was that you needed some discretion there, so we've made two changes here. We changed the language from the college will make every effort to a college will make a reasonable effort to accommodate faculty members with medical necessities. And then we've added the sort of discretionary phrasing that faculty can teach remotely instead of taking leave unless it's deemed pedagogically unsound by, we put division dean, but whoever you feel is most appropriate to make that determination. I don't think we have an issue there, but you asked for some discretion, so this proposal will provide it. The next section, again, on restoring faculty to their position following an approved leave of absence. There's similar kind of concerns expressed that it was too broad, needs some discretion, so kind of tried to meet that need here a little bit. So in this case, or in this proposal, the right of sort of restoration to regular course assignments only applies when they've missed less than half of the instructional time for the course. In section 2, paragraph A, I believe we've accepted the language that we proposed. Which, kind of read to us as sort of wordsmithing and clarifying. I don't think there's huge substantive differences there. And the same applies for paragraphs B and C. In section 3, the personal leave, I believe we pretty much kept all of your all the changes you made in your counter. We added one sentence that the request for personal leave won't be denied when they're made in accordance with procedures. So I can maybe imagine circumstances where you might be concerned that too many people take leave on the same day or something, and you need some more sort of additional discretion there. I think that's not necessarily unreasonable, but I thought you might be able to better enumerate those types of circumstances where discretion would be needed than we were. So we're not opposed to that. We just didn't, weren't able to come up with that ourselves. The parental leave, you had struck that not out of opposition to the concept you said, but there's a cost associated with that, and so you prefer to consider that sort of in conjunction with other economic pieces, and we understand that. So we'll have that conversation later on. On the Family Medical Leave Act, this is obviously quite substantial chunk of language here, and I think your position was essentially that you didn't want to deal with grievances about it because there's because it's law and there's other ways to address that. We kept it in here because now that we have some language that sort of speaks to what happens if you've got multiple venues to take up an issue that we feel this is an appropriate topic to cover in a collective bargaining agreement. It's not uncommon at all. And I know at least in K-12, pretty much all of our collective bargaining agreements had family medical leave provisions in it. Maybe not necessarily this exhaustive, but it's certainly a common topic that's covered. So we think there's good reason to have that type of language in the contract. So that's our position on that at this time.
Let me ask you on that point, would maybe consider during caucus, would be amenable to something similar that we have in the non-discrimination clause, either exclude it from arbitration or give employee the choice, file a lawsuit, go to Department of Labor, or file agreements, go to arbitration, but not both.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I was alluding to, was that non-discrimination piece. I don't think we would be. I think that type of language is equally reasonable in this.
I think that's really the concern for the FMLA striking it is it's covered by the law. It tends to change a little bit, tweak it, but we can deal with that. But we wouldn't want to have multiple venues and that kind of thing. I don't know that we're opposed to having covered by contract otherwise.
Okay, yeah, if you want to, I don't know if the exact same language would perfectly kind of translate over, but if you want to think about that and come up with something different if necessary, I think we can talk about that. Extended medical leave, I think throughout this, we pretty much just accepted what, up until the very end. So up to section, last section, we accepted what was proposed. So in the last paragraph, we made some changes. So essentially, the substance here, your proposal was that, the college has the right, when an employee returns from an extended medical leave, to assign them to a comparable position, but it might be in a different location. We felt that we understand that, some people may not have a position available immediately at the same campus for them to go to, but we kind of, we felt it was appropriate for that person, because that may be an hour further away from the drive, to kind of have the ability to come back to their old campus kind of as quickly as possible. So that's kind of the interest we're trying to protect with this proposal. Once the beginning of the next semester rolls around, the faculty member gets to essentially go back. We feel that if whatever they were doing has kind of been taken up by an adjunct in the meantime, we don't think that's something that should permanently displace that employee. On the other hand, if a new full-time faculty member is hired, there's sort of almost like a seniority concern that, the brand new employee shouldn't be displacing the veteran employee to a different campus permanently to that degree. This is obviously not something where everyone can be made perfectly happy all the time, but we kind of try to balance the various needs and interests here as best we can. On the temporary duty piece, we've accepted what your counter was with the reference to the board rule, kind of with the understanding that we're expecting those types of things to be incorporated by reference and included as an appendix and all that kind of stuff, as we proposed sort of new section last time. So kind of contingent on that, we're fine with the counter on the temporary duty. On illness or injury in the line of duty, I believe this is, you have not made any changes to your proposal. You're willing to accept your kind of counter there as is. And I believe the same is true for the military leave. The court-related leave, you instructed a proposal not indicating that you were opposed to the concept, but if there was some discussion about the need on your end to sort of tighten up the policy before putting it in the CBA. So if you've got a chance to do that, we'll happily include that instead, but not having had that yet, we just kind of kept what we previously had in there. On the sabbatical and professional leave, we have accepted everything you proposed, with the exception of the strike through of the last piece. You had struck through the final paragraph there saying that an employee granted sabbatical or professional leave will return to the same position on the same campus. I assume that you kind of out of the same sort of concern of what if there's that position there. You know, which I think we understand, but rather than not have any sort of right or expectation at all to returning to campus, you know, we think there should be some. So we're willing to kind of talk about how to balance those needs, but we do think there should be something there. It wasn't obvious to us how to do it, so we thought we'd just talk about it.
Question about that, actually, just because we don't know what the policy or the procedure is for that, where if somebody does go out and sabbatical, we don't hire somebody to replace them, right?
No.
Okay,
We hire somebody temporarily to complete their class load.
Okay.
You know, and these
so
are
like
the
a
adjunct,
long-term sub,
adjunct faculty members or a full-time faculty member may absorb that load and we pay for that, but we don't hire a permanent replacement
okay.
for that.
That's what I figured, assuming that most people would just come back to whatever their position was.
Correct.
When they, okay,
Yeah, that has been our standard practice.
cool. I had no idea. I was like, oh, I need to know, we need to know how it works. Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
On the various leaves, some of these things, obviously, we're not that far off. Others probably would be optimistic to get agreement on today, so the question just for going forward, do we have an interest? Because I think we would on our side of taking each subsection, if we can get, you know, let's say, personal leave done, TA that, even if we don't get sabbatical, just for example.
Right.
Yeah, no, and some of those others, so we can start to check the boxes and get less and less working towards is be on the same page.
Yeah,
I think during the caucus, then we can look at some of these things and maybe, if not all, certainly some of them doesn't look like we're that far off.
Yeah, I think that we're fine with that. I meant to comment, you might have noticed this already, but I had a typo issue in the date on the copyright, it should be May 9th, not May 6th.
And just on the clarification on letter E on first page on 13.1, on the addition where it says the faculty member shall be restored to any course assignments for which he or she has missed less than half of the total instructional time. Can you just share what rationale was used to focus on the less than half? Because our concern would be, again, the pedagogy, right? You have a faculty member who leaves and the expectation to put them back into the classroom if it's less than half time. However, a lot of that would be contingent on the type of program, the course, et cetera, because we wouldn't want to adversely affect the students by extirpating the existing faculty member and then replacing them. And sometimes less than half is still significant, substantial. I'm sure faculty will agree. It's very subjective. So can you speak to that a little bit?
I don't know if there's I don't think we have probably as involved of a rationale as you might hope for this time. We were just kind of thought, well, you know, if they miss so much, then yeah, it makes sense to not do that. Where exactly is that line? We weren't sure, so half was just kind of a starting place for the discussion.
Well, I think we're also assuming that if it's leave where, like for instance, maternity leave where the person is not in a coma or something where they can correspond back and forth with the person that takes over their classes. I'm sorry? Well, I mean, 'cause it's not, they're not, yeah, you know, something along the lines where it's something where they can basically work together with the person that's teaching their classes with the understanding that they're in kind of conjunction. I think that was part of the rationale, figuring that, well, if you're working together, less than half is more than fair. A coma situation may be a little different, but I don't know how often that happens. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think we understand that, you know, there's probably no way to cover all the circumstances with 4 lines in a contract, but, you know, we think it's something to just talk more about.
Legislative Department Chair, we both have proposals on that. Do you want to go first once?
Doesn't matter to me first. The same, keystroke issue here today, June 9th, 2026. So this proposal kind of has 5 different sections. One talking about kind of how people become chair. Second, talking about the timeline for how that happens. Third, talking about sort of what they received for being chair. Fourth, what qualifies them to be a chair. Finally, the various duties of the chair. So, I mean, we understand that job duties are a permissive subject. We took this from the existing job description. Since we're talking about it at the table, we just kind of, included it here. Just so that we could talk about it, but, I think you understand this is not something that we can force you to bargain with this to the point of impasse or anything like that. Not that I think we're going there on this issue anyway. So first, for the assignment to the position, I think we're essentially on the same page on this. It's it's exclusive discretion of the employer who gets assigned the chairs. There's not any expectation of continued reappointment to that position. And if it's, for whatever reason, the college determines that it needs a different chair, they're subject to release. There's not any sort of expectation or right to being able to continue in that position any longer than the college feels is appropriate. And then just kind of stating, what the position is. They kind of serve in that liaison role. They don't have any, sort of management responsibilities over other full-time employees, hiring, discipline, evaluation, that sort of thing. The language about providing assistance and support to the dean and associate deans and providing leadership for the faculty. I think we pulled that off the job description. It seemed appropriate, sort of the description of the general basic function. That's kind of where that sentence came from. The timeline is just, what it sounds like, the timeline for when that happens. Every March, whatever chair terms are up, will be opened and posted internally. And the dean or whoever will accept applications from everyone who's interested, and we'll make the decisions by April 15th. Chairperson can be reappointed, but they have to go through the same process again. You don't get any procedural advantages due to having been the immediate past chair. On the compensation end, in so many words, we're willing to continue the current supplement amount with the release time per semester. The limitation on required face-to-face course sections, since those kind of put more scheduling constraints than online sections. And then you can teach up to one overload class when you get that permission to do so. But, if it's determined that that's interfering with your ability to do the job, that can be revoked too. Sort of an expectation for a supplement amount, release time, and an overload section, but, discretion to take that away if it's not working out. For qualifications, master's degree with 18 hours in the academic area, at least 5 years college teaching experience, as well as being under continuing contract status. And then the duties, most of these are taken from the current job description. We did omit some. It might have actually been wise to redline, just leave them in and redline the ones that we took out. Help me out, someone, which ones what were some of the ones that we struck, just to give them a sense?
I don't know that I have that.
Yeah.
We don't go out, it's not gonna be immediate.
Yeah, I think I've got it on my computer. That would have been the smart thing to do, so include everything in this, right, the ones we took out. Any questions about any of A through D? You want to get into something?
I have a question on D, on the qualifications. So in our current policy, clearly the preference is for a continuing contract faculty member to be in this position. However, we also have a stipulation that if there is no availability of a continuing contract faculty member, that the college reserves the right to hire a non-continuing contract faculty member to absorb the department chair position. And we've done that before. So suppose there is no continuing contract faculty member who wishes to rise and apply, but there are non-continuing contract faculty members who are interested.
Right. Yeah, we didn't contemplate that scenario.
Right. Because it has happened.
Right.
And it will invariably happen in the future, as I said last time, right? There's some individuals, some departments that have no interest. So just, I think something that we have to be mindful of.
There was a reason why I went back to continuing contract with that standard. Number one is that I think that someone who's going to be chair needs to be at least 5 years experienced to know what's going on in the department, and that's continuing contract. Number two, it would be best if they were continuing contract, because I wouldn't want any chairman to make decisions based on whether or not they're going to get continuing contract if they don't make the right decision, or they're feel intimidated because I might not get renewed because I didn't agree with certain things. So although continuing contract is not a guarantee that you can be released, okay, it was for those two reasons that I put that back in there. Okay, now I understand if no one else is available, I get it. You gotta have somebody. Okay, so I'm completely opposed to that. But those are the two primary reasons: experience and just a little certainty that I'm going to do things in the interest of the department, rather than I'm not going to say that because I'm afraid that the dean is going to fire me if I don't agree with it or whatever. So those kind of things. So that was it. There was logic to it. At least I think there was.
Okay, but yeah, I mean, we hear what you're saying. Sometimes you just might not have anyone and then one. So I think we're willing to entertain a proposal that sort of covers that case. It didn't enter into our thinking on this proposal. We sort of assumed it would always happen, but obviously that needs to be the case.
Quick question on our proposal. As you've seen in the past, we have addressed department chairs slightly differently than program directors. Is yours just with the department chairs, or is it considering those two the same?
Yeah, so this what you're reading here only pertains to the department chairs. We haven't sort of fully thought through what of this may or may not apply to the program directors as well. This has been,
You contemplate a separate article than the program directors. I just want to make sure I'm clear.
Yeah.
Maybe it's, we combine the two, so we'll address that with ours, but.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so I've got the root side here. So in the job description, there are sections about assisting the dean in college-wide initiatives regarding professional development. We struck that. we struck a section in the job description talking about providing information for enrollment management, long-range planning, reports and schedules to the dean. There was a section on evaluating West Campus adjunct faculty and West Campus dual enrollment faculty. We struck that. The number is further on. Assist the dean in preparing and monitoring the budget. We struck that one. Assist in student recruitment and replacement. We struck that. Assist in the implementation of the college's equity plan in accordance with its provisions. We struck that. There are a couple others, but honestly, it's getting difficult. I want to rather not say, and you guys look it up and compare rather than say the wrong thing. So long story short, there were a few of the duties in the current description that we're proposing essentially just be taken off their plate. Again, we understand it's not mandatory subject to bargaining. However, we think that would help the department chairs focus on their core responsibilities to not have some of these other things. And if anyone on my team has any commentary they'd like to offer as to rationale for any of those that I just kind of ran through, please do know.
The idea was, with a serious recommendation, that we think that an associate dean for West Campus is a very good idea. If you need help in some of these things, could be taken off the plate of the chairman and given to an associate dean on West Campus. That was the way a lot of this was believed, that, well, if there was, and the assumption that there was an associate dean at West Campus, that some of these things should be handled then by the associate dean and not necessarily the chairman, which would relieve their responsibilities. So basically, we're kind of saying that it wouldn't be a bad idea to do both, to hire an associate dean for West Campus and also retain the chairman at the same time. One dean. That was the rationale behind some of this being alleviated.
Well, stay away from that, and we'll present our proposal. So as mentioned earlier, our proposed article number blank, I guess we can call it 9.9, corresponding with yours, but our proposal encompasses both department chairs and the program directors. But there are some differences between the two. So let me walk through it a little bit. Section 1 is very similar to yours. I think yours is proposed two-year appointments. We have proposed continuing current practice, 1-year appointment. Section 2 is the stipend or annual supplement, $5,000. We are proposing to keep the department chairs with this proposal, as opposed to our prior, which we had proposed to possibly do away with the department chairs in arts and sciences effective July 1. If we can reach agreement on it, we figure this may be a way to do it. So to your point, the consideration right now is to hire an assistant and to maintain the department chairs in arts and sciences, where the assistant dean would take over some of those functions that you mentioned. In particular, assistant dean would be responsible for the West Campus adjunct evaluations, dual enrollment evaluations, master course scheduling duties. They would still have input, but would not be responsible for those kinds of things. What we view as a significant chunk of those duties that are bogging down the department chair fall to the assistant dean. If we did that, our proposal is department chairs would get a $5,000 supplement, but no release time. Still would not be expected to teach extra courses except on occasion units. Words here are the same as before, the rare occasion when it may be approved. We are in section 3, proposing the 5 current department chair assignments in Division of Workforce Development, Career and Technical Education be changed to program director. Also proposing that the 2 program directors, section 4 in the aviation area, be combined into one, and the current annual supplement, which is $3,000, be increased to $5,000. I think that's along the lines of what we previously proposed for the aviation area. Cybersecurity, we're proposing to make it equitable that supplement, which is currently $3,000, increased to $5,000. So that you have the program directors there in aviation and cybersecurity making 5,000 things, department chairs. Other program directors are going through section 6, depending on the nature of the programs. There are some nuances. So it's, for example, in subsection B, Division of Nursing and Health, they'll receive $3,000 annual supplement for their 1 course release time. The technical health programs, you get that subsection 6C, 3,000 is just different. Instead of the release time, 30 hours per semester release time. Subsection 6D is just a recognition that if there are co-program directors assigned to a program, then they don't both get the supplement and release time prorated share. And we currently are doing that in many areas. It's a possibility. And the same thing with the last one, overload courses. We wouldn't anticipate program directors have them, but there may be a rare circumstance where the dean can approve that. So, big picture, what we're proposing is to keep the department chairs, but hire on assistant dean and take some of those same functions that you're proposing to remove it. The difference is, obviously, is we, in conjunction with that, we took away the release time. So that's something that you need to discuss. We feel that if we remove those functions from the department chair's plate, it should be doable the way it currently is without the release time. And obviously with the limitation on the overload as well, I think that was a big concern as to why things weren't running as smoothly as it should. That's our proposal. Any questions on that? We're happy.
Yeah, can I ask, just for clarification purposes, what, changing that chair to a program director, what's the rationale for that?
Right. That's a very good question, Gary. In the Division of Nursing and Health Programs, because they're actual programs, we have program directors because they're actually directing the bona fide program. In workforce, unlike in the Arts and Sciences Division, Arts and Sciences has an AA. So the AA is the program. We have departments within the program, so it stands to reason that a chair would be appropriate. But in workforce, we have actual programs. They're AS degrees in specific programs with accompanying college credit certificates or technical certificates. So cybersecurity, business, paralegal, human services, and on and on. So they really are directing a program. And that's also in line with our accreditation standards when we talk about the accreditation necessity for having program coordination. From a SAC COC perspective, while chairs are appropriate, and they have been in the past, it'd be more appropriate to label those positions truly what they are. They're directing the program. And that also makes it commensurate with the Division of Nursing and Health Programs.
Is there a significant change in their duties, or is it just more of a title?
It's a title change, yeah, same duties.
Thanks.
One other point I think is important to note is that we're still considering everything on the table. We want to go in this direction of retaining department chairs. I think the consensus on our side is that the current model is not working, or hasn't worked recently. Why I say that is because it's our position that if we want to create assistant dean or associate dean position, do away with department chairs, that we have the right to do that. Management right subject to impact bargaining, which obviously we don't want to go down that kind of path if we don't have to. There's a little time urgency, so we're hoping to try and bridge the gap quick because we have next year coming. So normally, as you guys know, as most people probably know, we have to reach, we can't piecemeal go through impasse and things of that nature, so we have to reach a whole agreement, which is not going to happen by July 1. So we're open to trying to do an MOU or something for this coming school year as to how we handle department chairs. Frankly, we'd rather do the program directors too, because there's some inequities. Program directors aren't getting paid as much as comparable department chairs. So I would hope that we can reach those agreements interim basis for the next school year. So think about that and how we get to that point quicker than maybe the rest of the contract. I think we aren't too far off. Obviously, the release time and face-to-face classes is the key difference, it looks like to me, from our two proposals. But we'll talk about yours in our caucus. You can do the same. We haven't had a chance to talk yours.
If I may, it's also important to note from the very beginning that we identified some of those inequities in the technical health and the health programs and cyber and aviation. So we most definitely want to correct those. So that is our movement on that, as for to make sure that the compensation, the remuneration, is clearly equitable across the board for positions that have not been in the past. But because it truly is, in the past, the college perspective was technical health different than credit health, but in reality, while the credit might be different, the level of work, the expectations on our students, and the expectations on our faculty, and the merits of the program are so equal. So we make sure that that all of our directors have that equitable, not only remuneration, but also the position influence that they should have accorded.
That's all we have to present. I don't know, maybe a caucus is in order.
Yeah, I think it's a good time. Just one more, a couple of things before we do caucus to take into consideration too. In section A, about the 2-year appointment, the reason that was changed, the 2-year, it was 2 years before, it was after the 1 year. But it's kind of like sending somebody to Tallahassee, Stan, all right? The first 6 months they get there, they haven't got a flipping idea what they're doing, all right? And they're just, winging it. And it takes some time to get their feet wet. And that was the idea, is that you get a chairman job, you give them a couple of years, by the time you get their second year, they're really good at it, they know what's going on. And considering the fact that there is a clause in there that says if you're not doing your job, and the dean could say that, I think it's 2 years would be a logical assumption. That was that reason. And the other one is that section 4 with the program directors for the aviation. You're combining the two. Is that a doable thing for one person to do both of those? I mean, it seems like an awful lot of work for one person. Is their duties doable even though there's an increase in pay?
Yes,
You feel like it is?
yes, the four
I'm
programs.
asking because I don't know.
Well, I appreciate the question. We reviewed this very diligently, and the four programs can be absorbed under one aviation program director. You have a lot of overlapping in the prerequisite courses or in the basic courses, and we believe that the duties, also the number of students, coupled with the activities that need to be done that are across the board because they're the curriculum frameworks, we believe that one person can absorb it. In fact, the challenge is having two, based on our previous experiences, that there wasn't enough element of work being done for both of those. And sometimes there's a disconnect with the communication, in the responsibilities, and even in the vision of the aviation program. So having one program director absorb that will take that vision, elevate those programs, and we believe very confidently that one person can manage.
Okay, that's what I want to do.
Do you have the?
Yeah, I got time. I'm not used to this campus. We have one A173 and A227. So, yeah, one will be downstairs, one's somewhere up there.
You want to stay here? You can stay here.
There's Ed, A173.
A173 is on this side. If you go downstairs, go out to the door. Right? 227 is here to the side on the walkway, and once you pass them down, it's marked. So,
Okay.
both of those are 227.
Let's not set a time maybe. You want to, you're ready, or we'll do ours, or I'm going to shoot for something, but.
We'll be in 227.
All right, so check in and we'll see if we get some.